So a little introduction then to Andy Crouch. That was him. I actually have another Vimeo, but I'm thinking that I may not need to show that one depending on our conversation. So I'm assuming that you have read Crouch's 2 chapters of his book, Culture Making. And I want to hear from you. What were some things that struck you as, I've never heard this before, or I've never seen or read about this perspective before, about culture making? Because sometimes even that word culture, we have a preconceived idea of this is culture and it's bad. And we can almost read about ourselves in his first chapter, in the chapter 5 that we read. So I want to get some input. What was your take on Andy Crouch's perspective of culture when he talks about gestures and postures? Thoughts? Gestures and postures. Random.
Well, I like how he opened.
Yes. And their audiences are different, so their take, their perspective on the same truth is going to be different. Matthew writing to Jews, Mark writing to Romans, Luke writing to Greeks, and John writing to all of mankind, again, toward the end of the 1st century. So their perspective on the same truth will be different, but the truth will be the same. Interesting. Good line. Okay, anything else? What else from Andy Crouch? Okay. What fascinated me about the timing of placing these chapters at this point in time is we've woven a couple of threads through the first number of weeks of our semester, and it's being woven together into this cloth. And I'm hoping you're able to see that. The things that Dr. Longinow has been addressing through the book, Badaracco's book, and the things that we're bringing in on Wednesdays are all being woven together. And it's fascinating to see Andy Crouch and the topics that he brings up in terms of our perspective, a typical Christian perspective. And maybe they're okay for gestures, but they're not okay for postures. And what he asserts is that too many of our gestures have turned into postures. And he then asserts that there are quite a bit of negatives if we allow a particular gesture, which might very well be good. But then if we hold a posture of criticism, if we have a posture of consuming, and if we have a posture of critiquing, our default mode then at looking at culture will be impacted. And how can we ever help culture if we have this kind of posture? What comes to mind when you hear this name, Michael Jackson? Entertainment, good. Anything else? I'm sorry?
Oh, I said controversy.
Controversy. Okay, I'm going to come back to that one. Good. Entertainment, controversy. What else? When you hear the name Michael Jackson.
Thriller.
Thriller. Yeah. Beat
Black
it.
or white.
Black or white. Yeah, the harmony, and did it with Paul. The Beatle. Paul McCartney. Yeah. Ivory and ebony. Ebony and ivory. Okay, good. What else? When you hear the name Michael Jackson?
Music.
Music? Okay, good. Historical? Yeah. Yeah. Dancing. Awesome dancer. Good. Awesome performer. Articulate. Trailblazer, absolutely. Good. And then there's that word controversy. And when we think of Michael Jackson, let's add that word controversy. What do you think of? Neverland, okay. And perhaps some of the things that have been allegations about what happened at Neverland. Okay, good. And so we're enough aware of the news and old news stories to form an opinion. Now, I'm not going to say what your opinion was, but if we were to go out onto the street and ask Joe Citizen what his opinion of controversy, Michael Jackson, Neverland, what do you think he'd come up with? What words or phrases do you think we might hear from Joe Citizen? Ah, plastic surgery, yeah. And why so many? Yeah, good. What else?
I think people would say, like, it's so sad that he died. I love his music. Like, I don't know, just kind of memories that are associated with his music.
Okay, good, good. Now let's just go back out on the street and ask Joe Christian. Mention the same terms and names. Michael Jackson, controversy, Neverland. What might you hear? Perhaps the same thing? Something even more, perhaps, from those that may have developed a posture, a particular posture? What might you hear? What might you hear?
Why it happened? Like, everybody kind of has their own version of this is why I think it happened.
Yeah, yeah. You guys are all very kind. What might you hear? Yeah.
You might just think that he's kind of lost and confused.
Yeah, lost, confused. Evidence perhaps in the surgeries and the allegations. Good. What else?
Sometimes he has like a mental disorder, he's not mentally stable.
Yeah, he's not mentally stable. Something's miswired somewhere. Hannah?
Stolen childhood.
Stolen childhood. Yeah, yeah. Early celebrity, fame. Perhaps that's what happened. Where were his parents? What did his parents promote? Things like that. I once had a woman, young lady at Biola, step into my office. She was neither my student nor even an acquaintance of mine. She stepped into my office. She was recommended to me by a friend. And when she stepped into my office, I knew something was different about her from the get-go. She didn't look African American, but neither did she look Asian. She looked both. She walked in and she told me her story. She told me her story about being here on Biola's campus and being ignored by the African Americans because she grew up in a middle-class family, not in, let's say, the hood. And so the music that she would perform was never accepted because it wasn't from the hood. She also said that she was ignored by the Asian community because she wasn't Asian. She was a half-breed. She was confused about her identity. Hence, she was recommended to me. And we talked quite a while about how God had made her unique and that God had gifted her and made no mistake that she was half Japanese and half African American. That despite the community that she was ignored by, she was gifted, and she was gifted with a purpose. What that purpose was unclear to her at that point. We would run into each other every so often on campus, and then I lost contact with her. But then I saw her on a film made with Michael Jackson as she sang a duet with him. And she'll be on this campus tomorrow night, Judith Hill. A wonderful, beautifully gifted and skilled young woman. What would culture have said to her? What would people have said to her? What would Joe Citizen have said about her? What would Joe Christian have said about her? And yet she, I believe, is one of those persons that Andy Crouch would describe as a cultivator, a creator, one who has been redeemed and is adding culture to culture. So my question to you right now is I want you to think about, as Andy Crouch talked about cultivators and creators, who in your life would you be able to describe as a creator, cultivator? And what I want us to try to do is think outside the box. We've thought too long about the criticizer and the consumer and the, I'm losing my words, all the other C's. but we have not thought long and hard enough about the creators and the cultivators. So I'd like for you to take a moment, and we're going to popcorn this. I'd like to hear about 5 of you, from 5 of you. Who are some creators or cultivators that you know or know of, who have added culture to culture? So that the words of Andy Crouch's chapters don't remain something that stay on a page, but they're actually lived out. And as what was said earlier, he gives us an infrastructure that we can now say, oh, that's it, or that's who could be that person, so that the words don't remain on the pages of a book. Can you tell me of some people in your life that you know of or know who have been cultivators or creators? Okay. And how easy it would be to just fall into the consumer mode and just buy. And just buy. And the thing that Andy Crouch asserts is that we were designed to create. We were designed to cultivate. So what is his perspective when he talks about the theme park? The wilderness and the theme park. What's he drawing? What does he want us to understand about this? The wilderness and the theme park. What does he want us to get to understand? Wilderness and theme park. Yeah, the theme is more powerful than the park. And what does that cultivate then in human beings if we only had the theme park mentality? Or, rephrased, what doesn't it cultivate? What does it not cultivate? When we have our Disneyland passes and we visit Disneyland 4 days a week, what does it not cultivate? Courage. What else? Courage to do what? I'm going to draw it out of us yet. Courage to do what? Remember, he's just told us what we were designed to be. Creators, cultivators. So if we have the theme park mentality, what will be stunted in us? Originality. Creativity. We go to the theme parks to be amused, hence an amusement park.
I think we become objects instead of subjects.
Yes. Yeah. Exactly.
Allow everything else to entertain us.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. Everything happens for our entertainment. Yes. So we are the object. Absolutely. Is that correct? Yeah. Good. Good. Any other thoughts? Wilderness, theme park, both needing culture. Any other thoughts? This is critical to understand at this juncture in our course. It's critical to understand what is a gesture in you and has it become a posture? And if it has become a posture, then it will short-sight you and diminish what you were created to do, and that is to create and to cultivate. So we have to be pretty honest with ourselves, and I'm going to ask you to write on this on your takeaway. Are there any of the gestures that you can recognize in yourself that perhaps has become a posture? Have there been any gestures that we have cultivated in our lives that now has become a posture with its liabilities? The reason why I assert that this is an important juncture in our course is because a couple of weeks ago, before we had the privilege of having Patrick join us and to view his film, we had a conversation about the theological imperatives for diversity. And you would not know this, but I had a conversation with 2 of your classmates after class. And I asked them to each pray about something stemming from our conversation, to pray about something that they would present in class. And I need for you to understand the gestures and the postures, the creativity and the creators and the cultivators, as we hear what your classmates have to say. My first conversation was with Randa. We had talked and we kind of left it up in the air where we were mentioning the phrase of white oppression. And there were some questions that came up about white oppression. So prayerfully, I asked Randa if she would consider presenting to us perspective on white oppression so that we can understand, and perhaps from understanding, cultivate and create. Does that make sense? And then I had a conversation with Caitlin. And you wouldn't know it from just observing Caitlin, that her family houses African Americans who are in need of help. And her dad speaks into these men and finds them help, helps to train them. He's making an impact on culture. But you wouldn't know that, would you, just looking at Caitlin? And the remark came up, how then do we deal with diversity when we don't even do a very good job of the kind of diversity that we can overtly see? Then how can we possibly deal with diversity in the ways that we cannot see? So I've asked Caitlin to present to us, as she's thought about this, what are some ways that we are so diverse and yet we will never be able to see with our physical eyes.
Biola University offers a variety of biblically centered degree programs, ranging from business to ministry to the arts and sciences. Visit biola.edu to find out how Biola could make a difference in your life.